The rain tapped gently against the window of Oliver Hale's high-rise office, but inside the room, the silence was louder than any storm. Maya stood near the doorway, holding her trembling hands together, her eyes searching his face for even a hint of softness. But Oliver only stared at the floor as if her presence had broken something inside him. "I wish you had told me earlier," he finally said, his voice calm but sharp enough to make her chest tighten. She stepped closer, hoping he would understand, hoping he would listen. But he backed away as if her truth carried weight he wasn't ready to hold. "You changed everything," he added quietly, his tone low, guarded, almost afraid. "I had plans. I had a path. And now all of it is slipping." His words didn't sound angry, just disappointed, distant and cold. That hurt her even more. Maya swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of fear and courage rising in her. "I never wanted to interrupt your life," she whispered. "I only wanted you to know." But he shook his head, unable to look at her. That moment told her more than any argument could. She didn't belong in his world anymore. With a deep breath, she walked out of his office, carrying the weight of a decision she never asked for. She didn't know then that this would be the last time they spoke for years. She didn't know that the choice he made today would one day return to him in a way he could never imagine. And she definitely didn't know that the moment she stepped away from him was the moment destiny quietly changed its direction forever. 2 months after walking out of Oliver's office, Maya found herself in a small coastal town she had never planned to visit. Everything felt unfamiliar, the quiet streets, the gentle waves, the slow rhythm of life. But somehow it felt safer than any place she had ever known. She rented a tiny room above a bakery run by an elderly woman who treated her like family from the moment she arrived. Each morning, the smell of warm bread drifted upstairs, reminding Maya that new beginnings didn't always come with noise. Sometimes they came with peace. Yet even in this calm world, her heart carried a question that never left her. Would Oliver ever care enough to search for her? Or had he already returned to his perfect city life, untouched by the truth she had shared? That thought was enough to hold her back from reaching out again. She wanted to protect herself from more disappointment. And most of all, she wanted to protect the small life growing inside her from any future rejection. But fate wasn't done shaping her story. One quiet evening, while arranging baby clothes she had bought with her limited savings, she felt the first flutter, small, soft, but powerful enough to bring tears to her eyes. It reminded her that she wasn't alone. It reminded her that new purpose was forming even when she felt lost. As the months passed, Maya built a life from scratch. She found work at the bakery, made a few close friends, and even allowed herself moments of laughter she never thought possible. Still, a hidden ache remained, whispering Oliver's name whenever she least expected it. She didn't know it then, but far away in the city, he was beginning to feel the quiet emptiness her absence had left behind. An emptiness he could not explain, and one that would soon change everything. 3 years slipped by gently, almost silently, but the distance between Maya and Oliver grew louder with every passing season. Maya's son, Aiden, had grown into a bright little boy who filled her small home with laughter and questions. Every time he smiled, she saw pieces of the past she had tried to bury. His curious eyes, the familiar tilt of his head, the quiet way he observed the world. He was a mirror she couldn't ignore. Maya protected their quiet life fiercely, yet sometimes late at night, she wondered if she had done the right thing by leaving without another word. Not because she wanted Oliver back, but because Aiden might one day ask about the father he had never met. And Maya feared she wouldn't have answers that would comfort him. Meanwhile, in the city, Oliver's world no longer looked as polished as it once did. His company stood firm, but his heart felt strangely hollow. Success tasted different now. He found himself distracted by small things, a child's laugh in a cafe, a stranger with familiar eyes, a woman passing by with the same quiet strength Maya once carried. Something inside him knew he had lost more than just a relationship. He had lost a chance at something meant for him, even if he didn't know what. What neither of them realized was that life was slowly aligning their paths again. Aiden was about to face a moment that would shake everything, and one unexpected incident would send Oliver directly into the truth he never saw coming. The day everything changed started like any other. Maya hurried Aiden toward the small school gate, reminding him not to run too fast and to finish his snacks. He smiled up at her with that familiar spark, curiosity mixed with quiet courage, and then dashed inside with his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. She watched him go, unaware that this ordinary morning would soon become the moment destiny opened a door she tried to keep closed. By afternoon, the sky had turned pale, and a soft breeze brushed through the town. Maya was at the bakery shaping dough when her phone rang. The school's number flashed on the screen. Her heart dropped. When she answered, the voice on the other end was calm but firm. Aiden had felt lightheaded during a class activity. The teacher insisted he be checked at the nearest medical center. It wasn't an emergency, but they didn't want to take chances. Maya rushed out immediately. At the small clinic, Aiden sat quietly on the bed, holding a juice box. He smiled when he saw her, but the nurse suggested a routine checkup to make sure everything was fine. Maya agreed, wanting nothing more than to keep him safe. What she didn't know was that a visiting consultant from the city had arrived that same morning, a man looking for answers in his own life. That man was Oliver. He had taken a temporary break from his company to support a charity medical initiative, hoping distance would clear the heaviness he couldn't explain. And the moment he stepped into the hallway where Aiden sat, he froze. Something pulled his gaze toward the little boy. Something painfully familiar. Something he couldn't yet understand, but couldn't ignore. Oliver stood in the hallway longer than he should have, trying to make sense of the strange pull he felt. Aiden wasn't doing anything unusual, just swinging his feet gently, sipping his juice, humming a small tune under his breath. Yet something about him held Oliver in place. The boy's eyes, the way they observed everything quietly, the slight tilt of his smile. It felt like looking into a reflection he never knew existed. He finally stepped closer, telling himself he was only checking on a child who might need reassurance. "Hey there," he said softly. Aiden looked up, his bright eyes widening with the kind of trust children gave naturally. "You're here for a checkup?" Oliver asked. Aiden nodded and shrugged. "Just dizzy for a moment. Mama said I'll be okay." The word mama hit Oliver unexpectedly, stirring a memory he had tucked far away, a memory he hadn't allowed himself to revisit for years. Before he could ask anything else, Maya turned the corner, holding a medical report. She froze mid-step. Her breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the papers. Aiden smiled and called out, "Mama!" But Maya didn't move. She stood rooted to the spot, staring at the man she had once loved and walked away from. The man who had no idea how deeply that day had shaped their lives. Oliver slowly turned toward her, the color draining from his face. He whispered her name before he could stop himself, but the sound felt heavy, carrying years of unspoken apologies. Maya's heart pounded as memories rushed back. Memories she thought she had buried permanently, and as Aiden looked back and forth between them in confusion, an uneasy silence filled the room. It was the kind of silence that appears right before truth steps forward, refusing to be ignored any longer. Aiden's curious eyes moved from Maya to Oliver, sensing something important was unfolding. Even if he didn't understand it, Maya stepped closer, steadying her breath, knowing that running now would only confuse her son and reopen wounds she had worked so hard to heal. Oliver looked as if the world had tilted beneath him. He had imagined many outcomes in life, but nothing prepared him for this moment, the boy who mirrored his every expression. In the woman he had pushed away without understanding what he was losing, Maya. "Is he?" The question came out hesitant, almost fragile. Maya lowered her gaze, not because she was ashamed, but because the past felt suddenly too heavy to hold. "Aiden doesn't need complicated truths today," she said softly. "He just needs peace." Her voice carried calm strength, the kind Oliver remembered, but had failed to appreciate. Aiden tugged at her hand. "Mama, do you know him?" Maya hesitated, but before she could answer, Oliver kneeled in front of Aiden, his voice steady but filled with emotion he could no longer hide. "I know your mother," he said gently. "I should have understood her better long ago." There was no plea, no demand, just quiet sincerity. Maya felt her chest tighten. She had imagined seeing Oliver again, but never like this. Not with Aidan watching. Not with emotions this raw. "Oliver," she said quietly, "life changed for both of us. But Aidan is my world. I won't let anything disturb the life he has built." Oliver nodded slowly. "I don't want to disturb anything," he whispered. "I only want to understand, and if possible, make things right." Maya studied him for a long moment. He looked different. Not the man who once chased perfection, but someone who had finally learned what truly mattered. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, listening didn't feel frightening. Aidan, still holding her hand, leaned closer to Oliver and smiled a little. "You look like me," he said innocently. Oliver's breath caught as hope and realization collided inside him. The moment stretched, quiet, fragile, transformative. It wasn't a reunion. It wasn't forgiveness. It was the first door opening. A door they might walk through slowly, carefully, but together. And as the clinic lights glowed softly above them, it felt like the beginning of a chapter that destiny had been patiently waiting to write.